behavior. And I think
Okay,
that's
let's
the
do some
important thing.
pistols.
The idea of open source
With
software
white support.
is that the code is
Well, I
open,
say
so
white,
the collective
white.
eyesight of developers around
So-
the world can look for and find bugs so that they
I'm
can
doing a
be
leg workout today.
quickly
but-
fixed. But that means the developer has to spend some of their spare time on updates, and they're not getting paid. Are there compensation models for open source developers?
I don't know if there are out there. When searching around, when I was thinking about this, there are models for doing this. There are models for compensating people, and they could have been used. And with more foresight, I think some people would have done that. The biggest parallel I can tell you is musicians. Musicians write songs, and those songs are used in all kinds of places
Right.
all around the globe. And there are licensing that says when you use this, I get a cut. And that, I think, is something that's going to have to come up in open source software, or at least we're going to hear a good discussion about it. How do you compensate people? Like I said, this is free speech, not free beer. And companies have to realize that.
There are dual licensing models where a software developer can create an open source package, but if it's used in a commercial product, then the developer has to be paid a licensing fee. So a software vendor, a software company, can take some open source packages,
Yes,
bundle them
definitely.
in their software, and then they can release two versions. They can release a free version that has limited features, but there's another version that has more features. That's the paid version.
Yeah.
And some of the money from that, the people who purchase that application, that goes to the open source developer.
That'd be a really good idea if these were all features. There's so many foundational pieces, and I think that's how you get these high averages. All
Let's
kinds
do
of
the
things
lighter.
that do copy, that do utility
Make it more
type
difficult.
things that are part of the code. Some of which were taken in there with licenses, some of which were copied in by developers and no one
I've lost
noticed.
my balance there.
It's too big a mess, I think, to be able to deal with it on those levels. But there are models. There are ways in which we can sign code. I don't know whether blockchain or NFTs might come into this, but there's ways we can sign our code and put it into the system so
still
we
left
can
out.
trace it, which would be good, and ways we can compensate. But it's going to take a big think to do that. There's no easy answer, but there's got to be an answer.
Let me look at it from the other point of view. If you're an application developer and you want to use open source components, after this incident, how do you trust what's in NPM or the other libraries?
How do you trust anything these days? We're at a pivotal point. All of the foundations that you could trust seem to be evaporating. It's not just open source code. SolarWinds. I mean, how much code is out there from commercial developers that is waiting to bite you? There's not an easy answer to this, but like I said, we have to find one because the whole question of what we can trust in code, the foundations are being shaken for people. And that's one of the more devastating things that's happened in this past year. And what exactly can you take as foundational and trust it? Your libraries? Not anymore. That used to be the thing that we could trust, those foundation things. That's not there anymore.
Well, one of the things that application developers, I think, have to get used to